Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Gotti Schwartz, coming to you from a very chilly Los Angeles. And here's some of the stories we're following tonight. More rain and snow is on the way in Southern California.
This is the most magnificent storm in the 31 years that I've been here.
Meanwhile, tornadoes have been wreaking havoc in Oklahoma and Kansas. We're going to take a look at the damage.
What the frick is happening?
What in the world is that?
And after 3+ years of debating, U.S. officials might have an answer to the question, where did COVID-19 actually come from? But then again, maybe they don't.
There's just no consensus across the government. The work continues, and I'm not going to get ahead of conclusions that haven't been arrived at.
Plus, a trip to the scene of a double murder. The jury in the Murdaugh murder trial will be headed to the house where those killings took place to check out the site with their own eyes. And he fought for our country, but his pension was only $91 a month. Our feature report looks at the inequality that black veterans are dealing with. A winter storm in California has covered parts of the state in mud, snow, and water. Today, a hillside north of L.A. collapsed after heavy rain, causing a major mudslide. Now, entire towns in the mountains are completely snowed in, and throughout the weekend, rescue crews made save after save in fast-moving water. There was so much rain, riverbanks were collapsing, like here in Castaic, where RVs tumbled into the bloated Santa Clara River. Joining us now from here in Los Angeles is NBC News correspondent Maura Barrett. Maura, we've gone from mega drought to rainstorms that are absolutely flooding the state. Are our cities here built to see this much wet weather?
It doesn't seem like it, Gotti, because it's been from one extreme to another, and California is taking it literally when you say when it rains, it pours. Because here over the weekend in Los Angeles and in surrounding counties, we saw roads completely flooded, rivers overflowing to the extent that erosion was affecting those riverbanks, like that video of the RV you saw there, and that those overflowed roads caused hydroplaning accidents. I mean, even me just driving through the highways this weekend saw people running off the roads into the hills, so not a safe environment in terms of infrastructure, and for a community that's not very used to those rains. And it knocked out with the rain, all these intense winds came as well. So over the weekend, tens of thousands of people without power. And we're seeing a quick break right now, but it's very cloudy and chilly here in LA, and we're expecting that rain to pick up again over the next couple of days, anticipating yet another few inches here in Southern California.
And Maura, we've seen the higher you climb in California, the more snow fell. Bill called it last week when he said you'll be able to see snow on any mountain you look at. Now there's snow on any hill you look at. How are people handling it?
Well, and that's the jarring thing, right? Because you're standing on the ground in downtown LA with palm trees right next to you in the foreground of what you're looking at, and then all of that snow on the hills surrounding you. Everyone you talk to is kind of just appalled by what they're seeing because this is so abnormal. And while it is that sentiment of shock and awe and people, out playing in the snow, there obviously is a danger factor here. Those roads closed in the mountains of the San Bernardino Mountains for the past several days. People snowed in. Snowplows working overtime, 12 to 14-hour shifts to try to get people out. But when you look at those roads, how they're beautifully kind of laid out there with all of that snow, people were taking advantage of it this weekend. I want you to hear from one resident out in Lake Arrowhead, just about 2 hours east of LA.
This is the most magnificent storm in the 31 years that I've been here. I have never seen North Bay this snowy and untraveled. Well, you can't travel on it.
Can't travel on it if you're in a car. Jenny had strapped on some cross-country skis and was making her way around town. But she's right. They've never seen anything like that. Over in Big Bear, in the area where she was, that 3-day stretch of snow was record-breaking. And then if you move further north in California, the Sierra Nevadas, they have 10 feet more snow than average of a typical season. And they're expecting to get 3 to 7 more feet just in the next couple of days. So California definitely in it for a long stretch of very unusual winter weather. Gotti.
Always good to see people enjoying it. She looked happy. That parka looked happy to be used here in California for what it's for. NBC's Maura Barrett, thanks so much. People in the southern plains tonight are picking up the pieces after a series of tornadoes. 12 people were hurt in Norman, Oklahoma by this fast-moving storm. That system spawning reports of at least 7 tornadoes in Oklahoma and another 2 in Texas. Storms rolled through the cover of darkness with winds topping 100 miles an hour.
It hurts, not only just for all of this, but I mean, this is our livelihood.
And today, town police used drones to survey the damage. You're seeing some of that video right there. And while there is still danger for residents traveling through the town, the police chief asked for their help.
We ask that the public stay aware of the dangers of downed power lines and tree limbs in the roadway, and to notify us of any dangerous situations they believe have not been yet identified.
NBC News correspondent Morgan Chesky is in Norman right now, where people are picking up pieces of their community. Morgan, we've heard some incredible stories of survival on the ground. What have people told you about getting through the storm?
Well, Gotti, it was a terrifying ordeal. This storm struck under cover of darkness, hitting this area between 9 and 10 o'clock last night. It came with a drenching rain. Tornado sirens followed. And then you could see on radar this telltale just strip down the middle of the state, going as far north as Kansas, as far south as Texas, bringing devastating winds with it. We do know that there are multiple tornadoes, 7 reported here in Oklahoma, 2 in Texas. Officials trying to confirm their locations and power today. But as far as the devastation goes, that's unmistakable. Daylight has shown just an increased amount of damage across this part of Oklahoma, but particularly Norman, Oklahoma, just south of Oklahoma City. And that's where I had a chance to speak to a woman who rode this storm out inside her bathtub. And she said she felt her whole home shake. And this is how she described the experience. Take a listen.
I've never heard what I heard last night, which was when I was in there and all my texts were saying, get safe. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And it was like, oh my God, yes. I heard all the trees break and get blown. And I heard so many, I thought all the barns were gone.
Now, those barns that she is referring to were filled with her beloved horses. Gotti, she walked out of her home, saw a roof had been ripped off, feared the worst, then walked inside what was left of this barn. Somehow, some way, every single horse still in their pens. The only injury from any of them was a scratch. They're all doing okay today. And as you mentioned, officials here in Oklahoma said that 12 people were hurt. None of those injuries expected to be life-threatening at all. And there have been no deaths reported as a result of this storm as it passed through Oklahoma. Gotti?
Morgan Chesky, thanks so much. And let's bring in NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns with what's next. Bill, we just saw some pretty incredible drone footage of the devastation out in the plains. We know those storms are now moving east. How much danger are they taking?
Oh, the tornado threat is really minimal now. Earlier today, by the way, we had at least 4 tornadoes, and some of those were like confirmed. We didn't have a lot of significant damage, so that's good. We've been watching these storms that were over Illinois, that raced through Indiana, heading through areas of Ohio. Wind damage with a lot of those storms. Still a lot of cleanup to be done with that, and a couple thousand people without power. But at least the tornado threat, those are weakening, and those storms are now weakening. So we're going from a severe weather threat, and now we're taking the storm into that colder air in the northeast. It's not very cold, but just cold enough that we're actually going to get a snowstorm out of this evening. We haven't talked many northeast snowstorms all winter long. For many areas, this will be the biggest snowstorm of the winter. And that's not even saying much, because like some areas are only going to get like 4 or 6 inches. So 42 million people included, mostly because all of the New York City area, all of New England is included in this. So we got a lot of big cities, Boston, Hartford, Providence, Albany, Syracuse, that are all in the winter weather for this evening. Here's the snowfall amounts for the big cities. Syracuse standards, not a huge ordeal. Albany, you should be able to handle that just fine. Maybe enough for some school delays, cancellations, and that'll be about it. And the thing about late February snow is once the sun comes up, it shines through the clouds and it melts the pavement in a hurry. So the worst of it will be right before sunrise with the roads, and then it will dramatically improve. Hartford has the best chance of getting a half a foot out of this. All of the mountainous areas, Poconos, all northwards up to the Catskills, the Adirondacks, the Berkshires, the White and the Green Mountains, all those areas will get about 6 to 12. New York City, sidewalks and roads probably be fine. In Central Park, probably be about a good 3-4 inches of snow on the ground tomorrow morning. And then, Gotti, as we mentioned last week, that's not the only storm.
Speaking of that, Bill, it's feeling a lot like Portland or Seattle here. Yesterday, Sunday was the only day that we had a beautiful day. The sun came out. Today, the rain is back. The clouds are back. We can't catch a break here in California. Is there any end in sight?
You're going to have people like making spring break changes and plans. No one's going to be heading to Southern California, Arizona for spring break.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, it's winter break still.
Exactly. So the storm that's now coming in, if it wasn't for last week's epic storm, everyone would be talking about, wow, this storm's really bad for California. It's really cold. This time we're not going to get the snow on the palm trees, but the snow levels are still very low. It's still very chilly. We're still getting blizzard warnings for areas of the central Sierra. It's not even a big deal anymore. It's just like, oh, another blizzard in the Sierra. So this storm system is now located right on the coast, just outside of Eureka, Redding, Medford, right in the border there of Oregon and Northern California. Some heavy rain just went through San Francisco during the day today. It's snowing really hard. All the mountain passes are almost going to be impassable. And this storm system will be with us for the next 2 days. And this is a crazy stat again, 3 to 7 feet in the mountains. And I love this, Gotti. The summit at Mammoth Mountain has already picked up 52 feet of snow this winter.
Wow.
And they're going to add another possible 7 feet to that. I mean, you can't even imagine. How many stories of a building is that?
I just saw a buddy who came from New York to ski in California to go to Mammoth. He comes to L.A. He's like, oh, I'll go to Big Bear. The roads are closed. You come to L.A. to go snowboarding, and then you can't even get up to the mountain because there's too much snow. It's unbelievable.
I know. It has been, and I got bad news for you. It looks like this could continue through mid-March, this weather pattern. So we'll talk more about that. We'll be
skiing and snowboarding on the 4th of July. Thanks so much, Bill Cairns. It's 2023, and somehow we still don't quite know where COVID-19 came from, but the lab leak theory might have just gotten a little more traction. A new report from the Department of Energy says the virus likely originated from a lab leak in Wuhan, China. However, that conclusion was made with, quote, low confidence. That's according to 2 sources directly familiar with the report. It's also important to note that this is just one of 18 agencies that make up the U.S. intelligence community, and due to interagency disagreements, one source tells NBC News this latest report is not being viewed as hugely significant. Lots of questions, and we've got the man with the answers, NBC Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian. So, Ken, is this looking like it was a COVID lab leak or not? We've heard so much back and forth over the last 3 years. Does this settle the whole thing?
It really doesn't, Gotti. We don't have enough information to say, neither does the U.S. intelligence community. The Energy Department is now the second agency after the FBI to assess with, in this case, low confidence. The FBI had moderate confidence that a lab leak is the most plausible scenario. But 4 other agencies are assessing with low confidence that a naturally occurring virus, animal to human transmission, is actually a more plausible scenario. And most scientists lean towards the naturally occurring transmission theory because they say that that's the most common way that viruses get into the human bloodstream. But there's a lot of compelling evidence on both sides. That's the bottom line. I mean, it's just very bizarre. It's always been seen as a really weird coincidence that this virus arose 8 miles from one of the few labs in the world that was studying these very types of viruses and doing some research that made them more contagious to humans. And the fact that China essentially covered up and didn't allow researchers to interview any of the employees of the lab, even when the U.S. government found out that some of them got sick in 2020 or the fall of 2019, that really raised a bunch of questions that have never been answered. But what my sources say is we may never have the answers to these questions because they just don't have the evidence, Gotti.
And Ken, what does China have to say about all this?
China has always dismissed the idea that there was a lab leak. They've said, in fact, they even dismissed the idea that the virus originated in China. They have said that the U.S. is waging information warfare. by raising this. The real debate among scientists, though, is whether there was an accident in the lab or whether this virus emerged from that wet market where mammals, wild animals, were being sold, and that's a very likely way that a virus could transmit from animals to humans. That seems to be the debate, and that has not yet been resolved, Gotti.
This is one of those cases in which you have what seems like a very straightforward question, and you still have 3 years of murkiness. Is China the murky factor here? Do you think that if this was in another country, we'd have a little bit more of a clear idea of what happened?
Well, my intelligence sources absolutely would argue that, because they say that China took a number of steps to make sure that it was almost impossible to fully investigate the lab theory. And so for that reason, we may never know. But one thing that's interesting, Gotti, is that 3 years later, we still haven't, scientists still have not found an animal host that transmitted the virus to humans. And in other cases of other kinds of coronaviruses, they have found that thing. So that remains a perplexing mystery that sort of provides some evidence in the column of the lab leak. But again, it's all up in the air, Gotti.
A new report out and the mystery continues. Ken, thanks so much.
You bet.
And they've heard all about the crime scene. Now they're about to see it in person. Why the defense team wants the jury to visit the site where Paul and Maggie Murdaugh were killed. Now tonight continues, so stay tuned. And major developments in that billion-dollar lawsuit against Fox News, and it has to do with all those false claims about voting machines. A bunch of documents released today show that the company president, Rupert Murdoch, acknowledged that some of his anchors endorsed lies about the election fraud in 2020. And that is a pretty big deal because Murdoch admitted that hosts like Lou Dobbs, Maria Bartiromo, Sean Hannity did more than just give a platform for the lies, but took it to another level by actually endorsing them. Murdoch went on to say that in hindsight, he would have liked Fox News to be, quote, stronger in denouncing the lies. The $1.6 billion lawsuit is being brought on by voting machine maker Dominion Voting Systems. NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos joins me now. Danny, this is Rupert Murdoch himself on the record agreeing that his network hosts endorsed election lies. How big of a deal is this for the Dominion lawsuit?
It's big. You may see Fox News trying to wiggle a little bit, saying, well, whatever Rupert Murdoch knows now, he may not have known at the time, and that might have some legal significance. But taking a step back, as significant as these admissions are for the currently pending motion for summary judgment, it's not likely to really affect the outcome. And I only say that because Fox News, in attempting to dismiss this lawsuit, simply has the rules of procedure against it. Motions for summary judgment to throw a plaintiff's case out of court are rarely granted, and the defendant has to make a huge showing, basically that there simply is no issue, no reason for a trial, that the plaintiff could never prove their case. So in all likelihood, the plaintiff's case will survive and move on to trial. But these factual admissions will be significant later on if this case does go to trial. And they may be significant, too, in crowbarring a settlement number out of the defendant if the defendant wants to settle.
How soon could this go to trial?
It really depends. That's one of the toughest things to gauge. Every court is different. A court in Delaware is going to be different than a court in New York. Even the state and federal courts in a particular jurisdiction or state are different. Federal courts are faster. State courts tend to be slower. So it's really hard to say. We're still jammed up because of COVID delays years later. So trial date projections are always an exercise in astrology.
Something we are so familiar with in 2020, and it's now 2023, so we'll look forward to that. Danny Savalos, thanks so much. An interesting development in the South Carolina double murder trial of Alec Murdaugh today. The jury is now going to get to see the crime scene up close and in person. A judge passed the ruling earlier today, siding with Murdaugh's defense team, and they want the jury to see the site where the bodies of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh were found in June of 2021. Here's why.
The spatial between where, and they've seen the pictures, where the feed room is compared to where Maggie's body was, compared to where the quail pens are, where the doghouse is. I mean, you just can't really appreciate the spatial issues without actually seeing them.
Meanwhile, Murdaugh's team called its own witnesses today, including a blood spatter expert who raised a new two-shooter theory.
more probably than not, whether there was one or two shooters who murdered Maggie and Paul on the night of June 7th?
I do have an opinion on that.
And what's your opinion?
My opinion is the totality of the evidence is more suggestive of a two-shooter scenario.
And Murdaugh's brother, John Marvin, also took the stand delivering some emotional testimony. At one point, he described actually cleaning up the scene where Paul Murdaugh was murdered.
I thought it was something that I needed to do for Paul to clean it up. Felt like it was the right thing to do. I felt like I owed him, and I started cleaning. And I can promise you, no mother or father or aunt or uncle should ever have to see and do what I did that day.
NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber joins me now. Ellison, can you talk to us about today's developments? What stood out to you, especially in relation to this new two-shooter theory? Were a lot of eyebrows going up?
Yeah, they certainly were. I mean, this is something that has sort of been alluded to, danced around, if you will, throughout the trial, but never directly presented by a witness as they were testifying. This is the first time we've seen that happen today. We have seen the defense in the past, try to suggest that there was some third party involved here. We saw Alec Murdaugh, when he was on the stand, directly suggest that, but also not present any sort of direct evidence to back that up. He suggested at the time that he thought maybe someone who was acting as a bit of a vigilante was involved here. This is the first time we have heard a witness for either the defense or the prosecution directly say there's a possibility in their view that this involved not one, but two shooters. Listen to some more of the reasoning that witness gave.
Why would one shooter bring two long rifles, two long weapons to the event? You can't handle and shoot two of them. So you either got to put one down, use one, and then swap out and grab the other one. Or I suppose you could have one on a sling, but that's quite awkward, and it's slipping around and it's banging around in an environment we know is very, very tight.
So the prosecution, the state, they have said that they believe weapons that belonged to the family, missing weapons. They have not recovered the weapons, but they did find shell casings. They say based on the shell casings that were found at the scene, they and investigators believe weapons belonging to the Murdaugh family were used. So the idea of this outside group, two of them, bringing in weapons and having to switch between the two, the prosecution has pushed back on that narrative even before this was presented, simply by pushing back on Alec Murdaugh's explanation when he suggested this could have been some sort of third-party vigilante, because they said at the time, why would someone show up to murder your family at your house and not bring their own murder weapon? So in the past, they have sort of addressed that bit of the claim by saying that they believe, investigators believe, the weapons used were owned by the Murdaugh family and were already on the property, and that if someone other than Alec Murdaugh was involved here, that would mean, in their view, they showed up to the property that night not knowing they were going to be there, and also didn't come with their own weapons, just trusted that weapons would be available and easy to get on the property itself. Gotti?
Speaking of that property, so as I understand it, the jury is going to have this. They're going to be processing all of this new two-shooter theory, and now there's this ruling to allow that jury to visit the Murdaugh estate 2 years after the murders happened. How is that going to play into their decision-making? What's the thought process behind taking them there?
So the defense asked for this, and the judge said if either the state or the defense asks to have what they call a jury viewing, a field trip of sorts, to the murder scene, that he would be willing to grant that. The defense did ask for that, and their argument was they said that it was important for the jury to get a sense of the space they're talking about here. They've argued that some of these locations were so small that it wouldn't be possible for a man of Alec Murdaugh's size, height, and at the time weight to physically maneuver in those areas with a weapon. So they seem to want the jury to go so that they can get a better sense of what the space looks like. The prosecution has already raised some red flags on their end, saying if that were to happen, and again, the judge has said that that is something he will grant, that they would need to have more people testify because the scene is so different from what it was almost 2 years ago, that they say they would surely need more witnesses to come in and explain some of the changes that have happened. We thought, Gotti, we were going to see closing arguments on Wednesday, but that was before all of this discussion about the visit for the jury to Murdaugh. Gotti?
They're expecting closing arguments on Wednesday, and now it seems as though the jury is going to have a lot more information to process before then. Ellison, thanks so much.
You bet.
And after the break, getting East Palestine back on track. Federal officials go door to door today in Ohio to check on people who live there. But first, you got to see this. Or maybe you're going to wish you hadn't. So I don't know, close an eye or something. Because you know how they warn people about using cotton swabs to clean your ears? Well, no one ever said anything about not sticking them in your beard. And now this guy in Idaho has broken the Guinness Book of World Records for most cotton swabs in his beard. It's not gross. It's just, I know, it's hard to look at. Any guesses on how many there are there? Drum roll. Well, you guessed it, 2,430 swabs. And this isn't his only world record. He actually holds 13 world records. His most recent was back in December for putting the most Christmas ornaments on, where else? Of course, his beard. We're going to be right back. And it's time now for some of the big headlines we're watching tonight. In Central California, 26 people were arrested during a 4-day gang crackdown. The sweep is all related to shootings from last month that left 6 people dead, including a teenage mother and her baby. Investigators think the shooting stemmed from a gang rivalry. And hundreds of newspapers across the country are dropping the popular comic strip Dilbert, denouncing the creator's recent remarks as racist. The creator, Scott Adams, is doubling down on his comments, referring to Black Americans as a hate group. And Twitter is laying off more employees, this time around 200. This is at least the 8th round of cuts under Elon Musk. Since taking over Twitter, Musk has gotten rid of more than half of the 7,500-person company. And the FDA authorized the first at-home test that can detect both COVID-19 and the flu. The over-the-counter kit uses nasal swab samples and takes 30 minutes to get the results. It's unclear when the tests will hit shelves. After cleanup, all that toxic waste in East Palestine has to be disposed of somewhere, right? Well, today the EPA announced 2 more facilities that have been selected for disposal in Ohio and Indiana. And take a look at this. Photographers captured this photo at Leslie Run Creek on Saturday. Now, we don't know exactly what's causing the water to look like that, but we do know that that little fish in the middle there, that's one of over 43,000 aquatic animals found dead after the toxic spill. And with all this happening, EPA Administrator Michael Regan is expected to head back to East Palestine tomorrow, making this his 3rd trip to the disaster site. NBC News correspondent George Solis joins us now from East Palestine. George, federal agencies gave us an update on disposal today. Where's all this toxic waste going, and who's going to be responsible for actually taking it there?
Yeah, Gotti. Well, Norfolk Southern is still responsible for the cleanup at the site. The EPA stepping in to say they just want to make sure that the sites that are selected can handle all of this contaminated wastewater and soil from the site. And as you mentioned, we are now up to 4 sites that this material will be going to. 3 here in Ohio and that 1 in Indiana. This comes after some backlash over the weekend where officials in Michigan and Texas said they were blindsided when some of this material was going to sites in their states. Now, mind you, this was still EPA approved, but nonetheless, these officials said they had no notice that this material was coming from this derailment site. So the EPA is saying they are still going to work on finding more sites beyond these 4, but at least these 4 will help start expediting more of that cleanup process at the site, Gotti.
And George, we have 2 things going on right now that are still extremely important. We've got the cleanup efforts, and then we have the safety assessments. How are both those going?
Yeah, we have the CDC still doing door-to-door assessments, checking on residents, making them take a health survey voluntarily still to see if there's anything that residents want. But still, after 3 weeks, so many residents remain skeptical about the information that's coming from officials. They're saying we are still dealing with the effects of this derailment. Many of them saying we still have these headaches, these rashes on our skin, things that cannot be explained by our doctor. I spoke with one mother of 2 who says she has some real concerns. Take a listen.
I have a 10-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son, and are they going to, in 10 years, be diagnosed with cancer that's from this? Norfolk Southern is making me question whether I'm a good parent.
And that's the other big part of this. Residents here don't just want short-term solutions. They want to see Norfolk Southern be held accountable, Gotti.
And this is something that they're not going to forget. George Solis, thanks so much. And Turkey and Syria are still getting hit by aftershocks. The latest one hit eastern Turkey with a 5.6 in magnitude, causing even more damaged buildings to collapse. It killed at least one person and hurt dozens more. That brings the death toll from this month's earthquakes to more than 51,000. Meanwhile, in Syria, there have been criticisms of the international response to the disaster there. Tens of thousands of people have been left homeless, and many Syrians say they have been left to fend for themselves. Sky News special correspondent Alex Crawford spent 48 hours inside one of the worst affected areas.
It's a tale of endurance and determination by rescuers who refuse to give up. This was once 4 apartment blocks, unrecognizable now. There were concrete blocks, one on top of each other, he tells us. Up to 100 were dead inside, but remarkably, at least one teenager called Rima was still alive.
We had to go down through this hole, and there was lots of twisted metal and concrete, but there was a gap which formed a tunnel. And we had to go through that and another tunnel to get to her.
The flats had more or less pancaked. The snatched images on his phone show how cramped it was as they crawled in one by one to reach Rima.
That's her leg there.
All the building was resting on this part. Any movement and it would all collapse and we'd lose her.
The White Helmets volunteers and Rima's relatives were working with very little. No heavy machinery at all at this point, just their bare hands and a lot of ingenuity. They managed to squeeze their way through the gaps, following the sound of her screams until they found her, cold and terrified, and with her right leg pinned down by tons of concrete. They covered her with blankets to keep her warm, and using only torches, after hours of trying, they realized the only way to free her and save her life was to amputate her leg, there, under the rubble. She can't remember anything of the amputation and still hasn't been told her father didn't make it. She's just relieved her ordeal's over after 30 hours of being trapped. She realized herself the only way to get out was to lose her leg. I told them to cut my leg, she says. They tried really hard to save it, but there wasn't any hope when there was no blood to it at all, so they took the decision to cut it. When I was trapped in the hole, there was a dead man next to me. She goes on, I was really afraid. I just wanted to get out. She's now hoping to somehow get a prosthetic. Still only 14 years old, the night of the earthquakes dramatically altered her future and so many others. Her family lost everything. Her father, the main breadwinner, as well as their entire home and all that they had to their names. At the moment, they're staying with Rima in the hospital, so they have some shelter for now. They're just living from day to day. They're one of tens of thousands who've lost their homes. This family is digging to find their IDs and anything they can salvage. Even scraps are better than nothing. Magdalene is searching for her phone. It has pictures of her 10-year-old on it, all she has left of her son now.
Were you talking to him?
No, there was no voice, she says. She and her relatives battled to free him with no help. Her son's body was pulled out 2 days later. They've survived the earthquake. Now they have to live with the aftermath, with little help or aid from outside, and much of it viewed as far too late by those here.
What did the Syrian people do wrong? What is our sin that the world left us like this? Are our lives worth nothing? Why? We're human beings. We respect humanity and respect human rights. We're not barbarians.
More than a decade of war and a natural disaster is fast turning into an humanitarian crisis in a region perpetually going from tragedy to tragedy. Why were you so late, it reads. We were waiting for you. The trauma caused by the biggest earthquakes in a century, those who helped the people here and those who took far too long, is going to be remembered way after the rubble's been pieced back together again. Alex Crawford, Sky News in Aleppo province, northwest Syria.
An extra $300 a month can go such a long way at the grocery store, especially these days. But families who get SNAP benefits, formerly known as food stamps, are about to get a whole lot less. NBC's Dasha Burns has the story.
Are we ready?
Jessica Ramos is a single mom. Feeding her 6 kids has always been a struggle.
What do you think about when you go to bed at night?
Well, if we're going to be okay for the next week.
Her family is among more than 42 million Americans who receive SNAP benefits, what used to be known as food stamps. During the pandemic, the government boosted those benefits. Jessica received an extra $300 a month.
They came in handy. They really did. The prices are going so high that we need them.
These benefits kept 4.2 million people out of poverty and reduced child poverty by 14%, according to the Urban Institute. But this month marks the end for those expanded benefits because of a provision in last year's omnibus spending bill.
The scary part for the next month, how are we going to live? What's going to happen?
What are the sort of decisions you're going to have to make to keep feeding your kids?
That was so hard. Either pay a bill or go buy some groceries. That's
where you're at.
Yes.
Jessica is not alone. Food banks across the country are preparing for a rise in food insecurity.
We have people calling our organization every day looking for more food resources.
George Matisic is the executive director of Share Food Program, one of the largest food banks in Philadelphia. He says they've already seen a 70% increase in demand over the last year as food prices have skyrocketed.
For organizations like ours, that means having to work round the clock to make sure we're sourcing more food to serve more people.
The typical SNAP household will see monthly allotments drop by at least $95. For older Americans and big families like Jessica's, the difference will be hundreds of dollars.
The people in Washington who are making these decisions, what do you want them to understand about what life is like for you?
For them to put themselves in our shoes, that we really are struggling out here. To please just consider, think about the children, mostly the children.
Dasha Burns, NBC News, Philadelphia.
And after the break, she knew something was up with her father's pension payments, and she corrected it just before he passed away. Now she's hoping her story will help other black veterans get what they deserve. That story is next, so stay tuned. And this year marks the 75th anniversary of the desegregation of the U.S. military. And tonight we're looking at how segregation affected a generation of black veterans and their families, including the steps we are now taking to honor those who served. Lucy Bustamante from our NBC affiliate in Philadelphia has more.
This is the love language of New Orleans, professed on this day for World War II veteran Lawrence Gross. 112 years old, this is how the World War II Museum celebrated the nation's oldest surviving veteran, serving 5 years in the Army in the Pacific.
Happy birthday, Mr. Gross.
Oh, Lord, he loved the victory bells. He used to say, I can't wait to see them girls.
His daughter, Vanessa, his caretaker in his final years.
How did it feel to see your father celebrated like that? It put a smile on his face, and that was mainly what it was all about.
The status of oldest veteran earned him national attention. And on Veterans Day of 2021, a call from the president himself.
Mr. Brooks.
Yes, hello. Happy Veterans Day.
I know. Well, thank you. That's why I called you. You deserve to be called on Veterans Day.
Oh, thank you so much for calling.
2 months after that call, Vanessa's father passed away.
Oh, God, help me. He was my hero. He loved everyone. And I am so proud to be his daughter.
But of all the honors bestowed on her dad that day, there was one well-intentioned act from a local community college that Vanessa says broke her heart. An honorary degree for a man who never got the chance to go to college in the segregated South.
He didn't achieve this. He always wanted to go to school. He never got the opportunity to go to school.
The GI Bill of 1944 promised all veterans returning home from war an education along with housing and unemployment insurance, all meant to create a strong middle class in America. Historian Richard Rothstein.
In practice, African Americans had very, very little opportunity to use the GI benefits that the GI Bill provided throughout the South. In the North, it was somewhat better.
A study by Brandeis University projects, based on limited available data from the VA, that descendants of World War II veterans lost $80,000 in economic opportunity.
African Americans never gained that wealth, and therefore the effects of that policy still perpetuate the inequality of today.
This might not be my generation's fault, but it is absolutely my generation's opportunity to fix.
Democratic Congressman and veteran Seth Moulton and fellow House member Jim Clyburn introduced a new bill that would offer descendants of World War II veterans an education and housing. Opponents said it was too costly, and it failed in the last Congress.
This is no giveaway. This is to restore the rights of those people who never got them.
Clyburn's compromise bill is the VA Housing Forever Act. It would focus only on the housing benefit that would allow descendants of veterans, regardless of race, to use the loan. The new Republican chair of the House Veterans Affairs Committee says he will consider it, calling past racism deplorable and saying that they will attempt to right this wrong. But some veterans aren't waiting for Congress to agree.
The GI Bill is the reason that I have my education. It's the reason that I have health care. So I know how consequential the obstruction around these benefits can be.
And they're taking on disparities beyond just housing and education benefits. Veteran Richard Brookshire of the nonprofit Black Veterans Project worked with Yale Law School, which sued the VA on behalf of Vietnam veteran Conley Monk Jr. over decades of medical benefits being denied.
Took me 40 years. Altogether.
It was through that landmark litigation and access to VA documents that they found Black veterans were getting disability claims denied at a higher rate than whites.
We were able to glean that over the course of the last 20 years, there were statistically significant disparities. One as striking as a 29% greater likelihood of denial for PTSD claims.
In a statement to NBC News, the VA admits the disparities, but it says they're working to bridge the gap.
I think that there's an education gap when you're coming out of the military to even understand the breadth of the benefits that you can be afforded.
Back in New Orleans, Vanessa realized when she became her father's caretaker, there were other benefits that he was missing out on. He had only been receiving less than $100 a month in pension for decades.
When my dad told me $91, I knew something deep down in my spirit. No, this is not right.
VA records requested by NBC News show it wasn't until she reapplied for him at 105 years old that his pension increased by $700 a month. The VA continued to increase his payments, some retroactively. And only 2 months before his funeral, he finally received just over $2,000 a month.
I truly believe he would have been getting $91 until the day he died had I not went down there.
What do you hope happens?
I hope that they could correct the wrong and make it right. Not just for my family, but for at least millions of Black veterans that were denied.
Denied, but she prays not forgotten, and that maybe her father's enduring legacy will help other veterans in their battle for better benefits.
He would always say, I don't look at color, baby, because we all bleed the same color blood.
And Lucy joins us now with more. Lucy, we've seen in a lot of cases the GI Bill benefits for Black veterans were worth just 40% of the value that we saw for white vets. How widespread is this?
Well, Gotti, at this point, here's what we know. That number is coming from research done by Brandeis University. And one of the things that they found is that there is very sporadic information available. That number could vary from 40% to 70%. But what they definitely know is that the North did better than the South in fulfilling the value of the GI Bill. And that's because of Jim Crow laws, of course, segregation in the South. Even if you had the GI Bill, which it was offered to every veteran, if you went to a bank in the South, the chances of them giving you that loan there as opposed to the North, it was a lot lower. So even though they were able to receive, in theory, the GI Bill, it wasn't cashed in depending on the state that you lived in. It was VA by VA, which is still very much the case, Gotti. And that's another reason of why we had our station, NBC in San Diego, NBC in D.C., our Bay Area station, Connecticut, and obviously NBC News Digital as well, investigate these things, and our station in New Orleans, because you really do have to go VA by VA to see how bad the disparity is depending on where you live.
Yeah, and those disparities by geographic location, it's just appalling.
Right.
NBC's Lucy Bustamante, thanks so very much.
Thanks, Gotti.
And when we come back, it started with a half-knitted sweater. Now thousands are bringing a little joy to their lives by tying up some loose ends. That inspiring story is next. A blanket, a hat, a sweater. These are things that might not seem like much on their own, but everything made as the result of the Loose Ends Project takes on a special meaning. And that's because it was all stitched together by a network of volunteers who finished the handcrafted work of loved ones who have passed away or who can no longer physically do the work. NBC's Joe Fryer has their inspiring story.
Loving memories are still woven into Robin McLean's mind 9 months after losing her mother, Barbara.
She took really, really good care of all of us.
Turns out her broken heart wasn't the only thing that needed mending.
When she passed away, we were clearing her closet out, and there was a knitting bag. Oh, goodness.
Inside that bag, an unfinished sweater that Barbara was knitting for her great-grandson, Ethan, a loose end that needed to be tied up.
I love knitting.
By the hands of Bettina Knowles.
It just felt really, really good to show kindness to a stranger.
They were connected through Loose Ends, a group stitched together last September by Jen Simonik and Macy Kaplan to finish craft projects by loved ones who've passed away.
It's a great way to be able to help somebody get through a grieving process.
These projects, whether it's a sweater or mittens or a scarf, these are things that are just really just filled with love, aren't they?
It's a tangible gesture of love. And wearing something that someone made for you special feels good.
They've got more than 5,000 volunteers known as finishers, with 200 projects in the works and 20 now complete, including that sailboat sweater.
And she handed it to me. Oh my goodness. I was already emotional. And, started to cry. She goes, "Stop, you're gonna make me cry."
Inside the knitting bag, Bettina also found mittens, which she finished too, adding a heart.
For me, what it symbolized was, this is Mom with you, and that she would always remember that Mom has her hand.
As for the sweater, Ethan is already wearing great-grandma's final gift, the yarn binding together strangers for life.
I didn't know Bettina, but she's a special person in my heart forever.
Joe Fryer, NBC News.
What an incredible story. Thanks, Joe. And you know what brings me joy? Bears. So tonight, instead of 60 seconds of joy, let's do 60 seconds of bears. Because over the weekend, you might have seen Cocaine Bear. And if you didn't, just a warning, I hear it's pretty grisly. It's a new movie about a bear that does a bunch of coke, goes on a rampage, and it just blew past box office predictions, earning $23 million. Even wilder, it's inspired by real-life events, not the murdering part, but in 1985, a bear did get into some cocaine in a forest after a smuggler chucked the drugs out of a plane. The taxidermied bear is now reportedly on display at a Kentucky mall, and his nickname, right there, Pablo Escobar. And today is also International Polar Bear Day. It comes as the Oregon Zoo in Portland got hit with some very snowy days that surprised everybody but these polar bears who couldn't get enough of their taste of home. And at the St. Louis Zoo, an Andean bear escaped his enclosure again. This is the second time this month the bear who goes by Ben broke free, putting the zoo on lockdown. And you want to know how he did it? With his bare hands. Okay, I know. That's enough. No more bear puns. That does it for us. I'm Gotti Schwartz for Now Tonight. The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.